This journey across the country has seen us visit a lot of places in the 1UP Turbo Truck Series this season, but here is a brand new location for us to try and see who's going to be the best driver around the Walt Disney World Speedway, a beautiful 1-mile oval right in the shadow of the famous theme park of the same name. And today, we're going to figure out if DJ Kurtis will leave here a champion, or if he will have to wait until Homestead to accomplish that goal, or if Brandon Smith can chip into that lead, if any way possible. And alongside me to bring you all the action once again is Ryan Griffin as per usual, and well, this is the second to last race of the season, a lot on the line for a lot of drivers needing to make something happen, but for Kurtis and Smith, the two title contenders, the goal is simple. Just keep each other in check, and for Brandon Smith, try and win this race if possible.
People refer to Disneyland and Disney World as the happiest places on earth. Well, for one driver, at the end of today, it could be the happiest place on earth. As one of these drivers, either DJ Kurtis or Brandon Smith, could be leaving very happy at the end of this race, depending on how the outcome turns out. Kurtis could be the one happy because he could be in a position to maybe lock up the championship, or it could be Brandon Smith who gains a big chunk on Kurtis today, possibly. But we'll see at the end of the day which one has. And I like this track. This track has seen some good finishes here in different other series that have run here, and I'm really anxious to see what the trucks give us today.
Absolutely, and with this being a very momentum-forward racetrack, especially on the exit of Turn 3, this is going to be a great test of driver and machine to see who can survive over the course of 50 laps here today. As we can now bring you the starting lineup for today's 50 laps of racing action. It is Santi Messi with pole position. I believe this is his first of the season. He's got Iguo Zhao alongside him in second. Jacob Miller, his teammate, behind him in third. Angel Gutierrez, the only playoff driver in the top 5 at the start. He lines up fourth. And James Ellison, making his final start of the season, rounds out the top 5. But more importantly, and I don't mean any shade on those drivers I just mentioned, but the championship protagonist, Brandon Smith, starts 9th. DJ Kurtis starts 11th. They're right on each other's tail. And for DJ Kurtis, the goal is simple. If he can outscore Brandon Smith by 24 points or more in today's race, he will become the Turbo Truck Series champion. For Brandon Smith, the goal is simple. Earn as many points as possible in this race to try and cut into the gap created by DJ Kurtis. It's 30 points currently, so with that being said, what do you think Brandon Smith's main goal is today? Points gathering or go for the win?
This goal has been the same goal I think it's been since the year started, and that's to go out there and win the race. I know he's got to think about the championship as well, but his goal is the mindset of every driver as the weekend starts. Your goal is to go out there and basically try to dominate if you can, get to the front and lead as many laps as you can, and then the cards will fall where they fall. And it's interesting because Kurtis stands an opportunity here to do something that nobody has done yet in the Turbo Truck Series in its history, and that is clinch the championship with a race to go. Nobody's done that yet. So he could be the first to do it and set Turbo Truck Series history. So I know Kurtis, he's going to be driving like he wants to clinch it today. Well, Smith is obviously, he's going to be driving to, he wants to win the race. Go win the race and let the cards fall where they fall. But it should be interesting to see, especially with them starting basically nose to tail, because they're both starting on the inside line. It'll be interesting to see who gets the advantage early, who can get to the front early, and who, maybe if one of them has issues, it'll be interesting to see today. And I'm amped for it. Let's go. Let's do this.
So with that being said, we have 42 trucks on the grid ready to take the green flag, which is getting ready to fly in a few moments' time. This is the 1UP Turbo Truck Series for 2024, the penultimate round of the season, and it gets started right now. Will we see history made here today with the crowning of a new champion? We're about to find out. Messi and Zhao on the front row leading us to the green flag. We are underway at Walt Disney World Speedway. Messi gets the initial launch off the line. He leads him into turn 1. Zhao follows in behind in second, but he's already under pressure from Jacob Miller in the 83. And keep an eye out for Ellison and Gutierrez, who with the 72 already fighting ahead of the 83.
And Messi gets a great launch off the start. He pulls away. This track, very kind of much a flat track in the corners, so there's not much banking here. So you got to have a truck that's going to work good on this flat surface, and Messi really launched off the start. Zhao is going to take over and firmly hold second, and then Gutierrez holds third at the moment, and then you got kind of still a battle here for fourth as Ellison tries to look to the inside of Miller. As we look back at our title contenders, nose to tail, it looks like Smith ahead of Kurtis at the moment.
They've got Justin Whitmer in between in the 91. He needs a big day to stay in the title fight, or otherwise he will be eliminated after this race is over. And you see them checking up a bit in turn 3. We've seen that throughout practice and throughout qualifying as well. If you could get too low in the middle of turn 3, you will have to check up and let out the gas to keep control of the truck, and that will cost you lap time, and it will cost you a lot of it. So keep an eye on that throughout the course of the race and see who benefits and who suffers at the hands of that turn 3. But back at the front of the field, Santi Messi has led both laps so far, and he's going to lead the third one quite handily over Zhao, over Gutierrez, Miller, Ellison. That's your top 5. Then the first side-by-side battle of the race with Braden Varga in the 0 and John McFadden in this 89, making his Truck Series debut here today before he takes over that ride full-time next year.
And it's interesting right now, the top 5 is, not only are they kind of stretched out, but they, between themselves, have gaps between each other, so the top 5 kind of spread themselves out. A little more chaotic, a little more condensed back together back here from about basically the bottom half of the top 10 onward. Although Miller has caught back up to Gutierrez trying to take that third position away, or that third position back.
Yeah, and he's got
the advantage down here, so he should be able to get it down here. We'll see if he can carry this momentum here.
And the key thing about this is, if you're on the inside going through turn 3, you really need to make sure you're not going too low to make sure you don't have to check up like I just said. But look at Zhao. He's already caught the 8 of Messi. They're nose to tail going in through 1 and 2. And Zhao really wants another truck win before he goes on to the Nitro National Series next year. A lot of these guys looking to end the season off with a big win. And here is DJ Kurtis. He's finally cracked the top 10 in this race. He's got past Cameron Lassard to do that. And look at the closing rate. He just pulled up to the back of the 15.
Right now, I think Smith is a little held up right now, I think, by the 0, who is actually kind of hemorrhaging spots at this point as I should say he started P7, but he's kind of maintained that position. I think Smith is just quicker than him at that point. And Kurtis, meanwhile, has been able to close right to the back bumper. Now, that's Kurtis's goal today. He pretty much wants to keep that 15 truck. Ideally, he'd want it behind him, but he wants to keep that 15 truck in his view. He wants to keep Brandon Smith in sight, and basically he can put himself in a position to look good next week going to Homestead, or next week going to Homestead. So his goal is, as much as I said Brandon's goal is to go out there and try to win the race, Kurtis has a little more where they can play a little more conservative. He can basically fall on the tire tracks of the 15. He doesn't necessarily have to win. So, they're just going to take what they got and keep the 15 in sight and see where it falls from there. As meanwhile, we check back up here. Ellison has actually caught these two in the battle for third.
Yeah, but unfortunately at the expense of one of his teammates, Ludovic Charette, who's in the pit lane at the moment. And it looks like we've actually got caution on the speedway, and we do. Looks like a 2-truck incident. Looks like the 46 of Janeda and the 99 of Shriak were involved in this. They started this race. Let me check my notes here. They started 37th in the case of Shriak. And for Jagan Janeda in the 46, he started 30th. So, an accident at the back of the field puts us under caution for the first time today. Charette, I think he's going to get off a little easy here. He's going to get the free pass because he was already lapped before that caution came out.
Yeah, the leaders had just passed down the front straightaway. I was actually just talking about that battle that was shaping up for third. That was going to be about a 3-truck battle, as the field's going to hit pit road here.
Yeah, and this is a smart move by these guys because I think if they manage their fuel enough, they will be able to make it to the end of the race from here. We were expecting a pit stop today. I just wasn't expecting it this early. But here comes everybody into the pit lane, aside from Ludovic Charette, who's going to get the free pass. And we'll see how this pit stop cycle shakes itself out. Down with the rights, on with the lefts. Actually, oh, we got some strategy here. James Ellison took 2 tires, and look at who took
Look at our title contenders.
They took 2 tires with him.
Smith.
They took 2 tires with him, so they're going to cycle out into the top 5 behind James Ellison, who assumes the lead of the race. Bold strategy move by these guys. They were hoping the 30 probably wouldn't do that, so one of them could get a bonus point, but they still have a chance at it regardless.
And I kind of like the tisk for tat on that move there. It pretty much, I think, was one probably saw the other doing the 2 tires. They're like, okay, we're going to keep pace with you, do the exact same thing. So, although it looks like now as they order the field out, it looks like Messi is actually going to be between Smith and Kurtis. So
here we are. We're at the back of the field, and Shriak and Janeda were alongside the 77 being driven by Shantley Daniel this week. Yeah, they just got squeezed in. Tough break for these guys, but fortunately for them, it's a relatively minor incident, not much contact. They'll both be able to continue on in the race, but I feel for that 77 as well. Shantley Daniel making his first start of the season in anything, really. So, tough break for him to reintroduce himself to 1-Up Racing, but like I said, not much damage. He'll be able to continue on his merry way.
It happens, especially at a track like this.
But the good news is we're going to have everyone on the lead lap. Ludovic Charette will get the free pass, and we'll see him coming around the final corner in a moment. There he is. Whoa, that was a nice little drift there from Charette to try and squeeze his way past. But the lights are out on the pace truck. We're going to have one more lap here under the yellow, and hopefully this is going to be our only yellow of the day. We're going to go back racing on lap 13 with James Ellison in the lead of this race, with Brandon Smith in second. This is going to be a big moment for him because he can either get the lead of the race or hang in second and gain a lot of points. DJ Kurtis, he's going to restart 4th. They judged that Messi did get across the timing line before Kurtis did, barely. So Messi will line up 3rd, Kurtis 4th, Zhao completes the top 5.
This goes back to what I said about Smith in the pre-race. He needs to focus on just go out there and try to win the race, regardless of what Kurtis does, because at this point, even if you were to go up front and lead, that's not as much of a gain as they would like if Kurtis stays where he does. So that's why I'm like, you got to focus on your race. Go out there and dominate, go try to win the race. Then you let the cards where they fall and you see where Kurtis ends up, because you can only control what you can control. So we'll see if he's got anything for Ellison here on the restart.
Green flag, back in the air. We're underway once again on lap number 13. Looks like Messi immediately with his 4 fresh tires pulls out on Brandon Smith to try and get the 2nd spot away. These guys on 2, they're going to have to warm their stuff up again. And guys like Messi, like Zhao, like Angel Gutierrez on 4 tires, they're going to be looking to strike early here.
Messi and Zhao had the best trucks prior to the yellow. So you put them on 4 tires versus these guys on 2. It's really going to be a battle of track position. We'll see which one pays off better here. Is it better to have track position or the tires? And so far, Ellison is loving where he is, and Smith is able to hold off the 8. Kurtis under attack from Zhao at the moment for the 4th position.
Yeah, and Kurtis did not have as good a restart as Brandon Smith did. He's already a 2nd and change behind. Looking a little further back now, see where everybody else is running. The pit stops did shuffle the order a little bit, but at the front of the field, it continues to be James Ellison out in the lead of this race. He's led ever since the caution period. Brandon Smith remains in 2nd position. That's 45 points he is gaining. He's actually got a net gain of 6 points on DJ Kurtis as they run right now, because 39 points go to 4th place, 45 go to 2nd.
And neither one has led a lap to this point, so it's the difference in their finishing position right now, which is not a big a gain as Smith wants, but at this point you got to take what you can get and just try to take it to Homestead if you can. So he's just trying to do the best he can to stay ahead of that 22 and just hope and pray things kind of fall his way.
And as they run right now, these would be the only 2 drivers going to Homestead with a chance at the title. Paul Villalobos is down in 9th place. That won't do it. He needs to gain a few more places in this race to give himself a fighting chance at Miami. But Through turn 3, this is a 3-turn racetrack. Through turn 3 we go to complete lap 16. It is James Ellison leading, but he doesn't have as big a lead as he once did. Brandon Smith and Santi Messi starting to reel him in a little bit.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing is they're starting to coordinate. We saw this a little bit, I think, at the start of the race, that first little run before the yellow, the first couple of laps. The leaders checked out, and then we saw Zhao slowly close his way back to Messi. So I think you can get out there, you can get a gap, and then slowly but surely it's like the truck ahead comes back to the truck behind it. So we'll have to see if that continues here, as it looks like Smith kind of went a little low off that last corner, and Messi was able to close. So Ellison extends his lead, and the battle for second is on.
It indeed is, and for Brandon Smith, he really can't afford to give up that second place because it's a 5-point gap between second and third. Does he want to have a 6-point gap to him and Kurtis, or a 1-point gap? That's the big question. But here's Kurtis. He's already reeled in these two, and he's going to try and dive to the inside of the 8, looking for a spot on the podium.
I see this, to some extent, is what it's like Smith doesn't know what he... It's kind of a what situation you want to be in if you're Smith, because yes, he wants pressure off of him from the 8, so he wants Kurtis to attack the 8, yet at the same time he doesn't want Kurtis to get that spot. So it's almost like he wants Kurtis to challenge the 8, so it keeps the pressure off of him, but he doesn't want Kurtis to get the spot, because then he can keep the gap between him and Kurtis right now.
Yeah, and they're pretty much nose to tail right now, with Kurtis right on the bumper of Messi and the 8 on the bumper of Brandon Smith in the 15. This has allowed James Ellison to check out to a 1.3 second lead over Brandon Smith, Messi, and Kurtis. They've also pulled a gap to about a second over the battling pair of Zhao and Gutierrez. They're fighting for 5th. As we make our way now out of turn 3 onto the main straightaway. Kurtis lost a little bit of time through there. That could be costly.
Yeah, I think Kurtis got a little low, like I talked about Smith getting a little low. And again, as we've stated before, you get low off that last corner, you seem to lose a little momentum, and it definitely cost Kurtis being a part of that battle for second place. He better be careful, because Zhao is on 4 fresh tires, kind of like Messi. So we saw how strong that 98 truck was prior to the caution. So we'll have to keep an eye and see if Zhao can get Kurtis for that position. Meanwhile, Smith back under fire again from the A as Messi continues. I think Messi might have the best truck, but the problem is, you know, he get behind a couple spots. He was not able to get the get off probably on the restart that he wanted, and now having to fight Smith, he's just losing time to Ellison.
And this is a battle as well within the top 10. This is for 6th place. Chastain gets past Gutierrez, and here's Paul Villalobos. This is a very important battle. This needs to be a pass the 66 has to make within the next few laps or so, because he needs to get within the top 6 to have a remote chance at the championship next week, regardless. So if he can't get up there, he can kiss his title chances goodbye. And even if he does get up there, they'll be very slim heading to Miami, but at least he'll have a chance at it. Meanwhile, James Ellison checks out to a 2-second lead over Brandon Smith, who finally put some distance between himself and the 8.
Yeah, I think Messi had the same situation as Kurtis did. I think he may have been on the outside, though, I think, trying to get a chance or a look at Brandon Smith, and he lost ground to Smith as a result. And I mentioned him earlier, Zhao has caught Kurtis, so this is a position, again, this is a battle both the 66 team and the 15 team are looking at, because if Kurtis loses another spot, that's another opportunity, especially with the 66 trying to get up there to stay within title contention, Smith trying to grow that gap so he can get the gain on Kurtis to at least give himself a better situation going to Homestead.
For sure, and you can just see how Zhao's all over the back bumper of Kurtis trying to make something happen. But the gap out front has pretty much remained stable at 2 seconds between James Ellison. This is actually the first time he's led a truck race in quite a while, and I'm sure he's very happy to see this. But at the back, well, at the back of your picture, you see Zhao's actually gotten alongside Kurtis in their battle for the 4th position. We're trying to get a better look at it. Yeah, there he is. Zhao's actually gotten past.
I kind of figured this was going to happen eventually, because we knew how good Zhao was prior to the caution. His truck on those 4 tires, I think, was going to get Kurtis eventually. The question is can Smith maintain where he's at? Because right now that's another position and another gain for Smith at the moment. And going back to James Ellison for a second, It's interesting. Ellison won the very first Turbo Truck Series race, and it's kind of interesting to see. You know, he kept dropping down here, and it's nice to see him out front leading because he was pretty much the one. He was pretty much the one to start us off in this series. He was the first winner, so it'd be nice to see him maybe possibly get another one. I think the biggest challenger to him right now might be this 8 and the 98. But the more time they spend racing Kurtis and Smith, I don't think they may run out of time to get to Ellison without the aid of a yellow.
However, you say that, but Brandon Smith just took a half-second chunk out of James Ellison's lead that last time by. If he can keep doing that, he's going to have a really good shot at it. As you look at DJ Kurtis, he has fallen back to 5th, and that was an 8-point gain, I believe. No. Yes, between Smith and Kurtis. I'm doing the math in my head, and it's quite difficult while commentating this. However, it's going to be a bigger gain than it was because of that pass from the 98. But meanwhile, another 0.2 of a second get taken out of the lead. So Ellison's losing his lead bit by bit, and Brandon Smith is on a hurry to get there.
Yeah, and Brandon Smith is it's like a shark smelling blood in the water. I know we're close to, we're in Florida, we're not too far from the ocean here, so.
Oh, look, Ellison had a tough run out of 3.
Really got low off that corner. This is Smith's opportunity if he can seize it.
He tries to go around the outside. That's not the easiest move to make, especially in turn 1, but it was pretty much the only thing he could do with Ellison blocking the inside like that. Kurtis still quite a ways back, 3 seconds back in 5th place. Now Smith really can see it dangling in front of him. He wants this lead. He wants this race to try and get closer to his championship rival. And they both make it through 3 cleanly there. He's going to gain a little bit of time.
Yeah, he's trying. I think he's run into the same situation that Messi ran into when Messi tried to get to Smith's outside earlier. As much as you get that slow momentum off of 3, which is where I think the high side benefits, I think it kind of hurts you running the top lane the rest of the way around the track. And you get to that high lane, and I think you lose some momentum through that, too. And, whoa, Smith really lost it again. He got low there. So Ellison pulls out, and that's going to allow Messi to close. So this is just a fun little fight among these 3, and it's about to be 4, because Zhao is closing in on this battle as well.
And critically, for his championship, Villalobos has gotten past these 2 and moved up into 6th place. He's fine where he is now. If he can finish there, he will definitely have a shot at Miami. But the main battle is at the front of the field between James Ellison, Brandon Smith, Santi Messi, and like you said, possibly Aguo Zhao as well.
And you see Smith, in Smith's case, he knows that he feels his opportunity was lost at Springfield, the dirt race, and the incidents that they had there. But this is an opportunity in front of him here. He's ahead of the truck that basically is on 4 fresh tires. That really looked like one of the best trucks early on, and I think honestly the best truck at this moment might be the 98. But he's still sitting in 2nd place. But the problem is he keeps running low there off that 3rd corner. And he keeps losing that momentum. That's basically allowed Messi now to close to his bumper. But the problem is for Messi, he needs to find a way to get to the inside of the 15 before they reach that last corner so he can try to get around Smith. Otherwise, he's just kind of in limbo at this point. And the one that's actually in the best position right now is Ellison, because he's got Brandon Smith, although not necessarily Smith. I don't think Smith wants to act like this, but Smith is basically acting as a roadblock to these 2 trucks that have the fresher tires behind them for Ellison. So Ellison is just up front like, okay, just keep holding them off, and then maybe we can have a battle at the end here.
And keep in mind as well, for Kurtis, for Smith, and for Ellison, they do have fresh tires, but they only have fresh rights. Everyone else has 4 fresh tires. And we're seeing it demonstrated here in front of us. It's not that big a difference, honestly. So, and Smith just lost a little more time as we come to 15 laps to go. Can't afford to do that too many times, or else their chance at a victory might be gone, because look, the lead's back up to a full 2nd.
What's kind of helping this difference as far as the 2 versus 4, we only ran maybe 7 or 8 laps on those tires before they. So they only have about a 7 or 8 lap difference in those left side tires versus those that took 4. And you put a truck out there at track position, as we've seen so far today, it seems like track position is king. I mean, Messi led it basically from the pole until we got that yellow, though Zhao was catching him prior to the caution coming out. But so far as we've seen, the lead vehicle seems to have the advantage. And I think right now, unless Smith can mount a charge here, Ellison is probably in the best position.
We're closing in on 10 to go pretty quickly. We're getting to that point where any restarts from this point onward would be single file anyway. Not that we have anyone a lap down. We still have all 42 trucks out there, and they're all in the lead lap. That is mighty impressive, to be sure. We have 13 laps to go now. We have the gap at 1.3 seconds between Ellison and Smith. I think you're right. Ellison's in a very good position here, because if he can just keep this gap, or maybe even let it go down to maybe about 0.6 of a second, he can probably afford that. Although, look, going through that corner, yes, Smith just gets onto that lower portion of the racetrack, and he just loses more time. He just lost another 10.
But as I was just saying earlier with this battle, the problem is Messi can't seem to take advantage of it. He knows Smith is making that error, and he's doing the right thing. He's going to go to the high side. The problem is, it's only that one part of the track where it's weak, and Messi can't seem to pounce on it, because he's basically stuck in the high lane going into turn 1, and he loses the ground to Smith into turn 1.
Yeah, the track switches back on the next corner, so it's really difficult to make something out of this. So Messi's definitely got his work cut out for him, and the gap just keeps growing. It's now a 1.8 second lead. So
and this is exactly why I'm saying Ellison is probably the best position, because basically, although Smith is obviously trying to hang on to his position for obvious reasons, he's basically a roadblock right now, I think, to Messi and the 98, because I think both those trucks might be quicker than Ellison, but if they can't get around the 15, they're not going to be able to close that gap to Ellison.
And now we only have 10 laps of racing to go, so time really is running out, and the gap's now 2 seconds. At this point, Brendan Smith's either got to step on it, try and find a way past, and find a way to close that gap again as they fly past the Epcot sphere in the background. They got to try and make something happen here, or else this race is going to go the way of James Ellison.
And Messi, I think, is the one that's really got to step on right here. He's really got to find a way around this 15, maybe try to get to his inside if he can before they get to that weaker part of the track, the inside, and see if it, because there's been a couple times it looks like I think if he could stick his nose into turn 1 underneath Smith, I think he could get by him. But I really would be interested to see. I'd be interested to see what the 8, or in this case the 98, looks like he's kind of faded off of those two. If one of them could get around Smith, if they could close this gap to Ellison. Otherwise, I think Ellison's in the best position right now. Yeah,
and the laps keep whittling away here, and the gap's still 2 seconds. They're not doing much to gain time on Ellison.
And what's going to happen here eventually too is this 98 gets in the battle. Him and Messi get to racing each other. That's even going to help Smith out as well as Ellison. So,
and what also helps Smith out, Paul Villalobos has passed DJ Kurtis on the racetrack. So Kurtis now down to 6th. That's another point going the way of Brandon Smith.
So far, we know at this point, if things stay the way they are here with 6 laps to go, that we're not going to... We pretty much know the situation that the championship won't be locked here at Walt Disney. And we're going to go to next week in Homestead. I'm not going to leave the state, but next week in Homestead, it's going to go down to Homestead. So Ellison out front, meanwhile, just trying to bring it home here with 6 to go. Although he did lose a little ground. He lost a bunch of ground there. I think he got low off of turn 4. And
he lost a second on that last
lap.
Here
comes Smith now.
Yeah, Smith is not done with this race yet. We still don't know who's going to be the winner here at Walt Disney World, because Brandon Smith has put on an epic charge, and he's bringing the 98 with him.
Like I say, what I noticed too is he did put a gap between himself and the 8 as well. So does Smith have enough to where he could try to make a charge at the 30 without giving up time to the 8? But
they both
got low off that corner.
Yeah, this is now a 4-truck battle for the win. Maybe 5 if they keep acting like this, and Villalobos can gain time. We got 5 laps to go from Walt Disney World. Zhao finally gets underneath the 8.
Now you see, this is a, you got to be careful with your Zhao here, because you know that low line is bad off of turn 3. So if you're going to get low of somebody, you got to try to get the pass done quick before you get to that corner and lose your momentum.
Absolutely.
We'll see with 4 to go. Ellison's going to have about a
half
3,
second,
maybe 2.5 truck length lead.
It's about half a second between himself and the 15. We're in the final 4 laps now. This race still undecided between the top 4.
And I think what's happening is we're starting to see a little bit of giveaway probably on those 2 tires. But I think it's also that Smith realizes he knows he's got the 8 kind of pressuring him. So he's like, okay, I got to get up on the wheel, get up after this 30. And I think that's what we saw is, yeah, Ellison was getting off that, and again, Smith blow off that corner. But again, Messi can't really take advantage of it.
We're into the final 3 laps, and the gap is back up to 0.9 of a second. James Ellison has led this race comfortably since the caution period on lap 7. And if he can hold on for the final 2.5 laps, this will be a big day for him. It'll be his first truck win since 2022 when he won at Vancouver in the doubleheader there. This ought to be a really big day. As it looks like Charrette's back in the pits. He couldn't make it on fuel. That could be an added factor in this race as well.
We got to keep in mind though, Charrette pitted a couple laps before these guys. So
yeah,
he pitted a couple laps before. So
he did also pit the top off, but he also got the free pass, which means he was going a lot faster.
But again, if this holds on here as we come to the white flag, the defining move of this race is going to be that 2-tire call, because that's your top 2 right now is those trucks on 2 tires. And also the 66 is into the battle now. He might be able to get maybe the 98 or the 8 here before the end of it.
And look, there's Kurtis back there as well. He's closed up to the back of these guys as we take the white flag. DJ Kurtis trying to get by these guys to reestablish a better points lead. But I don't think James Ellison cares about that. He is on his way to his 3rd career truck win. He's doing whatever he can to make it happen. Goes through turn 2, onto the short chute, and he doesn't look like he's going to face any competition. So out of turn 3, for the final time, James Ellison back in victory lane in the turbo trucks for the first time since 2022.
Brandon Smith will come home second. He gets the gain he wants.
Oh, and Kurtis.
I think Kurtis nipped the 66 at the line.
Yeah, that's that's a point for Kurtis, and that's an important one for him. So, as you see, Samantha Jade and Josh Gibson also running short on fuel. They needed an extra stop at the end. But James Ellison, a well-deserved win today. But for Brandon Smith, he did all he could do. He got a 2nd place finish. He got a points gain on DJ Kurtis. The gap now 23 points. It'll be those 2 heading to Homestead, plus Paul Villalobos with a slim chance at the back.
Yeah, man, Kurtis, nice little charge there late in the race to get back by the 22, so, or back by the 66. But, you know, maybe, is that maybe going to make it a 2-man race? I think Paul may still have a mathematical shot.
He's going to be like 50 points out, though. He's going to need a
yeah, I mean, that was a big moment, because it looked like the 66 had him for the position, but Kurtis with that late charge.
So now all DJ Kurtis needs to do is just have another clean DJ Kurtis drive. If he can get a top 10 at Homestead, the championship will be his, even if Brandon Smith goes on to win the race. But that's going to do it for us from the Walt Disney World Speedway. From Ryan Griffin and from myself as well, we say goodbye. It looks like James Ellison did find the happiness in the happiest place on earth he was looking for. He dominates in the House of Mouse. We'll see you again for the final race at Miami, where technically 3 drivers have a shot at the title, but in reality, it's going to be a 1v1 showdown between Brandon Smith, the challenger, and DJ Kurtis, the man they're all trying to beat.